Scene 1. The auction house. The air inside the auction hall was thick with anticipation, each breath of the onlookers sharp with excitement. A hush settled over the room as the next item was brought to the stage. The podium was elevated above the crowd, a spotlight cast upon a figure standing motionless. A girl, no a woman but barely an adult, stood there, her head lowered in submission. Her skin shimmered, a soft iridescence like moonlight on water. Her violet eyes, wide with confusion, scanned the room but found no comfort. The alien girl had been stripped of every semblance of dignity. Her clothes, her identity all taken. She was vulnerable, exposed, nothing but a product to be bought and sold like livestock. Next, the auctioneer's voice boomed, cutting through the silence. His fingers hovered over the bidding pad, eyes gleaming with greed. One of the last of the Nera race. Beautiful, rare, and untainted. The crowd murmured, shifting restlessly in their seats. Wealthy patrons from across the galaxy, dressed in their finest attire, eyed the girl as though she were an object for their collection. The Nera were known for their beauty, but their vulnerability in these situations was even more legendary. She was meant to be sold as a servant, a companion, a plaything. The bidding began, the numbers flying faster than anyone could keep track of. Scene 2, the human stand. Amidst the sea of elite bidders sat a lone figure, unnoticed by most. Ethan Jansen, a human with a face that hadn't yet reached his 30s, sat in the farthest corner. His eyes focused on the alien girl. He didn't belong in this extravagant hall, surrounded by the rich and powerful. He had neither the wealth nor the status. But there was something in her eyes, the way she looked as though she wished for nothing more than to vanish from the world entirely, that stirred something deep within him. He had seen his fair share of injustice during his years as a freelance negotiator, but this was something else. His hands tightened around the bidding paddle, his heart racing. As the auctioneer called for the final bids, Ethan's hand shot up, his voice firm when he spoke. 5 million credits. The room fell silent. A human bidding for an alien. The audacity. 5 million. Ethan repeated, louder now, as a challenge to the others. The auctioneer's eyes widened in surprise, but he quickly recovered. 5 million, going once, going twice. With a thundering gavel, the auctioneer slammed it down. Sold. Scene 3, the girl's new life. Ethan approached the stage as the alien girl was escorted to him by 2 burly guards. Her eyes never left the floor, her body stiff with fear and submission. The fact that she was standing there, covered only by a thin veil of shame, haunted Ethan. He stood tall, walking towards her with a sense of purpose, his every step resounding in the hollow silence. When the guards handed her to him, she flinched, as if expecting to be hurt. But Ethan didn't lash out. He didn't look at her as an object. Instead, he carefully draped a coat over her shoulders, shielding her from the prying eyes of the crowd. The coat was too large for her small frame, but it was the only form of protection he could offer her in that moment. "You're safe now," he whispered, though he wasn't sure she could hear him. He wasn't sure what kind of life she'd known before this moment, but he was determined to give her something better. Her head tilted slightly, her violet eyes flicking up to meet his for the first time. Her voice, when she spoke, was a whisper. "Why?" Ethan swallowed hard, unable to explain why he had done it. "Because no one should ever be treated like that. Not even you." Scene 4, the road ahead. As they left the auction hall, Ethan could feel the weight of every eye on them. The room that had once been filled with the sharp clinks of credits exchanging hands now felt like a distant nightmare. The girl, now clothed in his coat, walked beside him. She had yet to speak, but she no longer seemed completely lost in despair. Ethan led her out to the transport vehicle he'd rented for the day. The engine hummed softly, a sound that seemed almost comforting after the chaos of the auction. The girl climbed into the back of the transport, her movements stiff but curious. Ethan took a seat beside her, not knowing what to say next. He didn't have the answers. He didn't know what was going to happen next. But he knew one thing. He wasn't going to let her suffer anymore. Hours passed, the vehicle racing through the neon-lit streets of the city. As they moved further away from the auction, Ethan's thoughts turned inward. The Nira girl needed far more than just clothes and a new life. She needed a future. A future that wasn't decided by those who would exploit her. Ethan reached over and gently placed his hand on hers. She stiffened but didn't pull away. He smiled softly, though he wasn't sure why. "We'll figure this out together," he said, more to himself than to her. The girl looked at him, her violet eyes studying him closely. For the first time there was something like trust in her gaze, a flicker of hope. She opened her mouth to say something, but no words came. Instead she simply nodded, as if agreeing to whatever path lay ahead. The city lights blurred by the window, casting fleeting reflections of their journey, uncertain, but with the possibility of something better. It wasn't much, but for the first time since her captivity began, the alien girl felt something stir within her. Perhaps, just perhaps, there was a chance for a different life, one not defined by the cruelty of others. And with Ethan by her side, she might just have the chance to find it. Scene 5, New Beginnings. The sun began to rise, casting its first light on the new world ahead. Ethan and the girl, now sitting together, both with a sense of silent understanding, prepared for what lay next. There was much to be done, much healing, much to build, but for now they had each other, and that was enough to start a new chapter. As the sun began to rise on a new day, Ethan and the alien girl sat quietly together in the small apartment he had rented for them. The city outside hummed with the usual chaos of a bustling metropolis, but inside a calm had settled. The girl, once silent and broken, now seemed more at peace. She had a new sense of hope, and it showed in the way her violet eyes sparkled just a little brighter. Ethan glanced at her, his heart swelling with a mix of pride and protectiveness. They had come a long way since the auction, since the moment he had covered her with his coat. It hadn't been easy, but every small gesture, every word of reassurance, had built a bridge between them. "You're free now," Ethan whispered, almost as if reminding himself. The girl looked up at him, a small, tentative smile playing on her lips. She had learned to trust him, and in doing so, had begun to reclaim her life. Her future was no longer a product of auctioneers or cruel fate. It was hers to shape. As they sat together, a bond had formed, something unspoken but deeply felt. The beginning of her new life had truly begun, and Ethan knew he would be there to help her every step of the way.